The Ghost Behind the Bush. Rob had always been the wild one in the family. He was the sort of boy who had mischief written all over him. His eyes gleamed with excitement when he saw an opportunity to prank someone, and this summer was no different. It was the first day of vacation at Grandpa's house, nestled on a quiet hill outside the town, and Rob was already plotting something. His cousins, Mia, Liam, and Charlie, had arrived with their parents, and the house was buzzing with excitement. Grandpa's house, with its large, overgrown garden, rustling trees, and endless hideaways, was a perfect playground for Rob and his cousins. The family had gathered for dinner, and Rob, who was always the first to finish, had a mischievous glint in his eyes as he nursed his plate of food. The air was thick with the smell of grilled chicken and fresh vegetables, and the sound of clinking cutlery filled the room. "You know what we should do tonight?" Rob whispered, leaning toward his cousins as they sat around the large wooden table. "What?" Mia asked, always intrigued by Rob's wild ideas. "We should scare Ollie," Rob said with a grin. Ollie, Rob's younger brother, was the innocent one, the little brother who was always full of questions and wonder. He looked up to Rob like a hero, and that made him the perfect target. "You know Ollie's always so scared of things at night," Liam added with a chuckle. "He'll believe anything we say." "Exactly," Rob said, his eyes shining with excitement. "I've got the perfect plan. We'll tell him there's a ghost behind the bush in Grandpa's backyard, and I'll dress up as one. It'll be hilarious." The cousins erupted in laughter. Charlie, always the follower, chimed in. "That's so funny. Ollie will freak out for sure." The plan was set. As the family finished their meal and headed inside, Rob and his cousins made their way to the backyard. Grandpa's large garden was overrun with tall bushes and trees, and the faint moonlight barely reached the ground. It was the perfect setting for their prank. "Okay, you three hide over there by the shed," Rob instructed, "and I'll get the ghost costume ready." As evening descended, Ollie, unaware of the prank his older brother was planning, played outside with his new ball. He had forgotten to bring it in before dinner, and now, after everyone had gone inside, he decided to retrieve it. Grandpa's backyard seemed peaceful under the silver light of the moon, but Ollie didn't know that Rob and his cousins were lurking in the shadows, ready to turn it into something far from peaceful. Rob had already slipped into his makeshift ghost costume, an old white sheet with holes cut out for eyes, and crouched behind the tall bush near the garden's edge. The others hid, snickering softly, while Ollie, oblivious to the trouble ahead, walked toward the bush to retrieve the ball. As Ollie got closer, the wind shifted, and the shadows seemed to grow longer. He paused for a moment, a slight unease creeping up his spine. He had always been a little scared of the dark, but tonight felt different. Something didn't sit right. "Rob," Ollie called out quietly. "Is that you?" There was no answer. Rob stayed perfectly still behind the bush, holding his breath. Ollie took another hesitant step forward, his hand reaching for the ball that lay just beyond the bush. And then, from the darkness, a figure emerged. It was pale, its form vaguely human but twisted, an eerie shape that seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. Ollie froze, his breath caught in his throat. The figure's eyes, those two hollow holes in the sheet, glowed with an unnatural light. Who are you?" Ollie whispered, his voice trembling. The figure didn't respond. It took a slow, deliberate step toward him. Ollie's heart pounded, and his legs went weak. Without thinking, he turned and bolted back toward the house, his small legs carrying him as fast as they could. But as he ran, he stumbled and fell to the ground, panic rising in his chest. Rob, still hidden behind the bush, couldn't help but let out a small giggle. But that was all Ollie needed. His world went black. The fear had overwhelmed him, and he collapsed, unconscious, on the ground. The next morning, the family was in a state of mild chaos. Ollie had woken up with a high fever, his face pale, his body shivering despite the warmth of the house. Grandpa, who had been a figure of wisdom and calm in the family, immediately noticed something was wrong. "Why does Ollie look so ill?" Grandpa asked, his voice full of concern. "He's just got a little cold, Grandpa," Rob said, trying to brush it off, but his eyes shifted nervously. "Rob," Grandpa said with a raised eyebrow, "tell me the truth. What happened?" Rob hesitated for a moment. He had never imagined that things would go this far. But Ollie's condition was undeniable, and his prank had clearly taken a toll. Rob's cousins, Mia, Liam, and Charlie, who had all been part of the prank, stood uncomfortably behind him. He fainted last night, after he saw something in the garden, Rob admitted, his voice small. We scared him, Grandpa. We were playing a prank. Grandpa's face darkened, his eyes narrowing. A prank? Rob, do you realize what you've done? That wasn't a game. You frightened your brother so much that he's physically ill. Rob felt a pang of guilt hit him hard. Ollie, his innocent little brother, had always trusted him. And now he had caused him real harm, something he never meant to happen. Grandpa let out a deep sigh. Come here, Rob, he said, motioning for him to come closer. Rob walked over slowly, his heart heavy. Grandpa's hands were warm as they rested on his shoulders. Do you know what the problem is with this prank? Grandpa asked, his voice soft but firm. Rob shook his head. It's not that you were playing with your cousins, or that you were trying to make things interesting. It's that you used fear as entertainment. You took joy from someone else's pain. That isn't what play is about. Play should bring joy, excitement, and learning. It should bring people closer, not tear them apart. Rob looked down at the floor, ashamed. I didn't mean for it to go this far, Grandpa. I thought it would just be funny. Grandpa nodded. That's often how it starts. But when you scare someone for your own amusement, you don't just hurt them. You hurt yourself, too. Fear isn't something to take lightly. And teasing others is never the same as playing with them. In the days that followed, Rob could feel the weight of his actions. Ollie had recovered from the fever, but Rob could see the unease in his younger brother's eyes when he looked at him. The trust was gone, and Rob knew that it was up to him to earn it back. The family continued to enjoy their vacation at Grandpa's house, but Rob's behavior had changed. He began helping Ollie with things around the house, teaching him how to fish in the pond, and even showing him how to climb trees, things he would have once avoided out of laziness or a desire to be the center of attention. Grandpa's words lingered in Rob's mind. Every time he found himself laughing at someone else's expense, he remembered the look on Ollie's face that night and the guilt that followed. Slowly, Rob began to understand what Grandpa meant. He had always thought that being the funny, mischievous one was what made him special, but now he saw that true joy came from making people smile, not by causing them fear. Ollie, for his part, eventually forgave Rob, though it took time. They spent many afternoons together, playing games that didn't involve pranks or tricks. Rob even started helping Ollie with his schoolwork, and the bond between the two brothers grew stronger than ever. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the cool breeze ruffled the leaves in the backyard, Rob sat on the porch with Grandpa. You've learned something important this summer, haven't you? Grandpa asked, his voice gentle. Rob nodded, his face thoughtful. Yeah, it's not about scaring people or teasing them. It's about making them happy in the right way. Grandpa smiled and patted Rob on the back. I'm proud of you, Rob. You're on the right path now. Just remember, play should always be about creating joy, not fear. From that day forward, Rob became known not just as the mischievous cousin, but as the one who could always make people laugh with kindness, with fun, and with joy. And in the end, that was the best kind of play.